Evening or late afternoon, everyone. Welcome to your Danville City Commission meeting, regular meeting for today, August the 9th. The hour is 5:30. I'll call us to order. Make note that Commissioner Cottle is under the weather, and if everybody would keep him in your thoughts, that would be delightful. Ask that we be led in prayer by Commissioner Denise Terry. Commissioner?
Thank you. Please pray with me. Tonight I have a prayer for our leaders. Dear God, we ask that you give our leaders wisdom, discernment, and strength. Keep them healthy, safe, and rested so that they can guide us through this time. We also ask our government leaders on wisdom on how to stop the virus and stabilize our economy. We ask that you give our spiritual leaders your discernment on how to meet people's needs as they glorify your name and encourage the church. Give our medical leaders insight into how to stop the virus, strengthen their resolve, and honor their hard work in creating a treatment for COVID-19. Give our civic leaders inspiration, courage, joy, and strength to meet the needs of our communities. And help us as leaders in our communities to display courage, hope, generosity, and kindness. In your name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, ma'am. We have the wonderful Herschel McKinley with us this evening. And, sir, yes, I'm going to ask you to come forward and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. It begins with I pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Herschel, I'd like you to come back every week with that voice leading the pledge. That is just...
That could be arranged.
That is just fantastic.
So they said some people can read the phone book and make it good.
I'm telling you. Commission and staff, you have the agenda in front of you. Do I hear any corrections to that agenda?
Mayor, we would ask as staff that you remove item number 6, which is the second reading of ordinance 1974, the intent to annex ordinance, so staff can have further consideration of the matter prior to bringing it for a second reading. We would propose or anticipate that being the second meeting in August.
Very good. Commission okay with that? Okay.
Yes, I am.
All right. That said, we are in the section called Hear the Public. This is a public's opportunity to address any item that is on tonight's agenda. There'll be an opportunity later on for the same for any item that is not on tonight's agenda. Anything?
Are we considering item number 6?
That is no longer on tonight's agenda.
Some people present want to speak about that, I'm sure.
They can do that at the next opportunity under Hear the Public on those items that are not on tonight's agenda.
Oh, okay.
So item 1 is the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. Do I hear a motion for approval?
So moved.
Motion's made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made and second. Any additions or corrections? If not, I have one, just a clerical piece. Madam Clerk, when I was speaking about the parking issue, you got item 1. I'm not sure you got item 2 clearly, but we can talk about that later. All right? That's all I got on that. Any other thing else?
You want to give us a 25 words or less about what needs to be changed?
Well, yes. We talked about making the using electronic entrance and exit with numbered slots. Either do numbered slots unpatrolled or do electronic entrance and exit.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Call for the question on the minutes.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 2 is the Humane Society Strategic Plan Presentation. Carrie, hi.
Good evening. Is this on? Check,
is.
check, check. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak tonight. I appreciate your time. I will do my standard disclaimer. I came straight from the shelter, so if there is any drool or dog hair on me, just ask you to forgive me for that. Before I share a brief overview of the Danville-Bull County Humane Society's 3-year strategic plan, I'd love to update you on our statistics so far this year. As of July 31st, the Danville-Bull County Humane Society and our partners at Bull County Animal Control have reunited 70 lost pets with their people, helped place more than 175 animals in new homes, and provided low or no-cost spay and neuter surgery for more than 650 dogs and cats. So, I'm not good with math, but I did put these numbers together earlier. That's almost 900 animals that we have improved the lives of so far this year. And that's all thanks to our services and programs like Home to Home, which is a direct placement adoption network, or our Community Cat Program, which provides free spay and neuter surgery for outdoor cats, thanks to Happy Paws, our low-cost clinic, and area veterinarians that work with us. It's really important to note, though, that behind every pet is a person or multiple people. So the real heroes in this whole story are the residents of Danville-Bull County who take advantage of the programs that we have to offer. They're the ones that are really helping us save these lives. So kudos to our community for all that good stuff. Now, on to the reason that I came here tonight, and that is to share with you that the Danville-Bull County Humane Society recently completed a 3-year strategic, well, it didn't take us 3 years. It was the first few months of this year. We put together a 3-year strategic plan. We started out by assessing the community's needs, reaching out. Nearly 200 people provided input by completing a survey or participating in one-on-one interviews. And based upon that input, the board and staff identified 3 key result areas we're going to focus on over the next 3 years in the strategic plan. Those 3 areas are, number 1, improving the health of animals in Bull County, Danville-Bull County, engaging our community in animal welfare issues, and providing more resources to support pet owners in Danville and Bull County. So some immediate goals that fall under those 3 key result areas include putting on low-cost vaccination and microchipping clinics, increasing opportunities for low and no-cost spay and neuter surgeries to pet owners in need, and expanding access to our pet food pantry. I don't know if you knew this, but we have dog and cat food and other supplies that we are more than willing to share with people to help them keep them with their pets. A lot of times when people surrender an animal, it's because of a short-term problem. We don't want a long-term solution to a short-term problem, so we can help. And finally, we're relaunching our volunteer program to engage more people in the community in our life-saving mission. So that is obviously, for a 3-year strategic plan, that's pretty brief what I just gave you. That's just scratching the surface. But if you'd like to see the entire plan, all the details and all the strategic goals that fall under these key result areas, please check out our website. It's dbchs.org. And right on the homepage, you can click on the PDF that says strategic plan. It's got all the details. Oh, hey, whoa. It's got all the details in there. And I personally could go on and on for hours about this stuff. So if you have an interest, your social or civic or business group would like me to come and present, I can share a lot more details with you. Or just give me a call. You can call the shelter, 859-238-1117, or shoot me an email. I'm going to spell it. It's my name, Carrie, K-A-R-I-K-U-H, @dbchs.org. Again, this is just a very brief overview because I know you have a lot of business this evening. But if you want to hear me go on and on for hours, I would be happy to meet with you. So please feel free to reach out. That's what I've got.
Questions? Comments? We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Appreciate what
Appreciate
you
your
do.
time.
Thank you, ma'am.
Item 3 is the codes enforcement report. Bridget here? There you are.
Trying to get my mask off, sorry. You have before you the report for the month of July, in which we had, we issued 32 business licenses and we placed 17 liens. We had issued 68 parking tickets, and we had a total of 146 notice of violations, inspections, et cetera. We had 2 properties on the condemned list that were demolished by the property owner, 102 Waveland Avenue and 120 Highland Court. And we also, during the month of July, we received our Entertainment Destination Center license from the Kentucky Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control. So staff is working on procedures and stuff to put in place for how we will utilize that, but we do have the license now. We talked to our insurance carrier today about getting additional insurance coverage for us for that. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions?
Oh, he just stepped out. My question was actually for Mr. Dexter more than anything. Earl, you may be able to answer. We started procedures on several condemned properties. I don't even know how long ago. I would like to know the status of those, and our list is growing, and I don't believe that tearing down the structures is always the right answer, and I would like for us to, again, explore other alternatives.
I know from our meeting with Mr. Dexter that he is working on an updated report, because we talked about several of those properties that are he's working on for foreclosure and some other stuff, so.
Okay. And again, our process is not good, and it takes way too long, and we need to be more creative and find other answers.
Yeah, the legal process is very time-consuming as it relates to condemned properties. It's not necessarily an internal process, just as a point of clarification.
And you weren't able to go with us to Northern Kentucky, but they have a program that gets those back on property tax rolls and gets them into other people's hands that can either rehab them or use them as rentals, those types of things. So I've been asking for many years now for us to explore this, and just hasn't happened, so.
Earl, is that something Bridget could do?
We've talked about it with Bridget. We've met with the Housing Authority. We're trying to develop a concept that is executable, really, or something that we could pursue. Taking property, you have absentee ownership that is a significant problem in every community, and it's not just here. And so, we've talked about this land bank authority concept before. We mentioned that one time. Louisville has that. There's alternatives, and we're trying to develop concept, and we know that it's taken some time, but we are working on it now.
And it could possibly be something we can use the EDA to help with that. And I do know the Housing Authority has been trying to implement some programs, which is why we went to Northern Kentucky with them to see what other cities are doing. And I just would really like to see something like that happen.
You'd like to see the list shrink and not grow.
Yes, and not be on the list for really long times.
Okay.
Have that done by next meeting, Bridget.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for the-
pressure.
thanks
Thank you,
for the
ma'am.
report.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, if I could, I do want to add to that periodically I've prepared a presentation on those particular properties. And what you'll notice upon review is that there is, the reason that they have been on there a long time rarely has anything to do with any action of the city. But counter to that, it's due to other pending litigation matters of which the city is merely a party. And so the length of time on that list is not an indication that the city has been absent of thought. It's just merely one of many parties to what has sometimes been very lengthy litigation.
And I understand that. There just has to be some better way because other people are doing it.
Point well made. Ready for item 4? Resolution number 2021-08-09-01. This is the approval of the signature for sponsorship for the airport grant. Action is requested. Do I hear a motion to that resolution?
I'll move to approve resolution number 2021-08-09-01 as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Atkins. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Terry. Any discussion?
So is this a matching grant of some kind, or is this,
It's a grant that comes
Airport.
from the FAA.
and it's in the amount of $47,441?
If you say so,
That's what it says.
I'll take your word for it. Any further questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 5 is resolution number 2021-08-09-02. This is the approval of the deed and acceptance of the title to the Meadow Lane Cemetery. Do I hear a motion for that resolution?
I gladly move for the resolution approving the deed and accepting the title to Meadow Lane Cemetery as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Atkins. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Holland, thank you, ma'am. Discussion?
It's been a long time coming, but we've finally got to where we'll take it over next.
What took you so long?
Well, history and documentation and lawyers and legal fees and research and everything else.
There you go,
you know, so
just tying it up.
I was going to say all of the above, but it's a great day, though.
Yeah.
Great day.
All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion will carry. Item 6, as we've discussed, is going to be moved next meeting in August. Item 7 is the city manager report. Mr. Coffey.
Thank you, Mayor Commissioners. We are getting past the summer season we've had, the last couple of meetings have been a little bit lighter agendas. We've had a lot of folks on vacation, both folks that work for the city and people that are doing work for the city. So we are looking forward to a fall of work that is coming. But one of the things we'd like to point out is Sourcewell company that does purchasing for public agencies. And what we're going to do in the same way, some of you may remember eBridge that we used to purchase some of our chemicals before. It's an online reverse bidding. We are going to work with Sourcewell to manage the RFP process, the request for proposals to acquire the city's fire truck this year. And so we're going to get started on that process. We're using them instead of doing the RFP ourselves. They're going to do that for us. They'll advertise for us, and it will be an RFP process. It's not going to be a situation where we develop a complicated specification and just ask for a low bid against that specification. We're going to treat it like we did the TV equipment, for example, for the wastewater system, where it's an RFP process, and we accept proposals from different vendors, and so the fire department has a chance to evaluate that on a specification basis that they provide, so that we don't have to try to create that and try to pigeonhole or shoehorn a proposal into those specs. So we're going to be working with Sourcewell, and we just want to let you know that, because it will not be something that we just advertise in the newspaper here locally. You will ultimately approve it and see the results of the proposal process, and then make the decisions on the fire truck. Right now, we are looking at about a year out on being able to have a truck delivered, so we're getting started now. And just understand that that's happening, and you really won't hear about it again for probably about 90 days, I would say at least. And just wanted to put that on your radar.
And this is in the budget as a capital expenditure,
That
correct?
is correct, yes. Yeah, that's really all I had. I just wanted to make you aware that that's the process we're going through.
So the point of that is to free up staff, I assume, to save money on the purchase?
That is correct. We believe that it's going to be a more efficient process to acquire the fire truck.
Very good. Anything else, sir?
No, not tonight. Thank you.
All right. You want to tell us something about your vacation?
No, I'm good.
Tell them what you told me.
What'd I tell you?
If you haven't seen some of those
Yeah, if
national
you've not
parks.
been out west, you've not lived.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Yeah.
We'll move right into the section that I spoke of earlier. This is the public's opportunity to address the commission on any item that is not on tonight's agenda. Mr. McKinley, yes, sir.
Excuse me. Mr. Mayor, honorable city commissioners, Mr. City Manager, Mr. City Engineer, Madam Clerk, Mr. City Attorney, and members of the audience and the press, if attending. My reason for addressing this body is the concern of several business owners and renters on Delahaye Street and Fern Street, myself included, in Danville, on the closing of the west half of Delahaye Street by Center College. According to the plat, Center College is planning to build a baseball field on the old garbage building location. My relationship with Center has been very good. My daughter graduated Center College magna cum laude. I've had the honor to MC the Great American Brass Band Festival on the campus for all but one of the festival years, and have been friends with 2 of the last 4 college presidents. However, this development greatly concerns my fellow tax-paying businesses located on Delahaye Street, because the proposed field will encroach on Delahaye, closing the west end of the street and possibly a large portion of Roy Arnold Boulevard in the future. Then to South 4th Street, that will effectively stop traffic from Walnut Street and Beatty Avenue to Roy Arnold Boulevard, then to South 4th Street. It will cause a major inconvenience to hundreds of drivers who use those streets daily, routing much more traffic onto eastbound Walnut Street to 4th Street through the Center campus and their Center crossing lanes, the student crossing lanes. Now, if you please, I ask other tax-paying business owners who will be severely affected to address this commission. First of all, those of us that are here from that area, would you please stand just to let us know that you're here for that reason. I would like for Mrs. Linda Johnson, the CEO of Johnson Construction Company, to take her place at the microphone.
Thank you. My property,
Ms. Johnson, you want to pull that microphone down? There you go.
okay, can you hear me now? Okay. Talk
Thank you.
loud, okay. I'm addressing the committee tonight because my property on Delahaye Street at 497 is adjacent to Center College's soccer field. They are building a new baseball field and it's in the process right now of the construction of the site work. Center has petitioned, I guess, the committee to close part of Delahaye Street, which is at my property, up to Roy Arnold Boulevard. That is the only access that I have in and out of Delahaye Street with our semi-tractor and trailer truck loaded with our heavy equipment. Our equipment cannot come down 4th Street or South 4th Street and make a right-hand turn onto Delahaye loaded with heavy equipment. They would have to swing over to the left-hand lane, which is one-way street down that 4th Street, and it could cause accidents, plus they can't make the turn. We have been at Delahaye since 1993, and our only way in and out for all those years have been through Roy Arnold Boulevard, turning onto Delahaye. If the fence in the closing of the street is permitted, I will not have any access in and out of Delahaye Street. And my concern tonight is, my big concern tonight is the public was not made aware of this. There was not a public meeting. Apparently they were approved to do the temporary closing. And we were informed by a construction worker that they were waiting on a fence to come in to close the street off. If that happens, I don't have any way in and out with my equipment. So I'm requesting that it not be allowed to close the street off, temporarily or permanently. Thank you.
Thank you. Good.
Let me just say that the others that are here do feel the same way. It would add just personally about 6 to 7 miles a day extra driving for myself because of other properties that I have and access to them, getting in and out. We would like to work with and see what we can do with Center College and the city in order to alleviate this situation. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, City Commissioners.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Susan Weston. I've been a resident of Danville for 31 years. Boyle County tonight has a 55 person per 100,000 rate of COVID-19. That's a daily rate. It puts us at 7 times the rate at which the CDC recommends that vaccinated people mask indoors. That's where we are tonight. We have lost 80 people in our county. We don't need to lose more. And I am here to ask the City Commission to provide recognizable leadership on this issue. You could pass a resolution urging vaccination. You could pass a resolution urging masks. You could post a sign at the door of this room urging vaccination and masks. You could organize a campaign of public information explaining why we need vaccinations and masks. If you do nothing, you will be leaders who did nothing in the biggest crisis of the last half century. I will give you 2 more things you can do. You can amend the agenda of any regular meeting to take up issues you consider important, and a majority of members can call a special meeting. And when they call a special meeting, they are required to specify the agenda. This issue is before you. You are free to choose silence. I urge you to lead. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Zach Van Vector. I'm here as counsel for the Danville-Boyle County Airport Board. I'll try to keep this rather brief for you. I appreciate the commission passing tonight's second reading of the ordinance. The bottom line is the Airport Board has a number of serious and significant concerns with the proposed annexation. Those include, among other things, the anticipated and even unknown effects that they have not had an opportunity yet to explore and fully determine. I have with me tonight a number of members of the board, and I'll allow them to address the commission and raise some of these concerns if they'd like. Earlier today, I provided each of you by email a letter that set out some specific objections to the ordinance as it is written. And I won't go through that in its entirety, but what I would like to do is address what is the second point in that letter that I think is a significant concern, which is that the ordinance as written clearly ropes in numerous tracts of land that are actually located in Lincoln County.
Mr. Van Vactor, if I may for a moment, one of the purposes in delaying the issue tonight was to revise the map, which we discussed prior to this meeting here today, and the commissioners are privy to. So one of the reasons for delay is to address some of the concerns that were in your letter. You're free to address them publicly again, but they have been communicated to the commission, and we intend to resolve at least the point in number 2 in your letter.
And I appreciate that.
Sure.
I would actually urge the commission to withdraw the ordinance as it is written, because I believe under the law, the ordinance must rise and fall as a whole. And I'm not sure it can actually be corrected at this point without essentially redoing it from step 1. But I'll move on in light of our discussion and the fact that this has been passed, and invite any of the board members who would like to come up and address the commission.
Thank you, sir.
Rob Caldwell. We as a group had prepared a memo that I brought into City Hall this morning, and I just wanted to make sure that all of the commissioners had received a copy of that, and if not, I'm happy to distribute a hard copy.
Are they in the box?
Yeah. I got it.
Okay.
I got it by email, but I'd love to have a hard copy though.
We
It
received
was
an
sent by
today.
email.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
thanks, sir.
And that we will have an opportunity to speak in 2 weeks, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Hunn, always a pleasure. Uh-oh, you got your bodyguard with you.
Hello, my name is James Griffin. I live at 1013 East Main Street, and I just wonder if anything y'all can do about that burned building at the end of East Main.
Staff?
Yeah, it's been condemned. It's kids, they go in there and play in there. And
What is the timeline for the city to take it down and do something with it before that, somebody's gonna, we heard that they're gonna start
Coffey,
2 weeks ago.
I'm not-
And now they're talking about first of the year, you know, it's been over 6 months, man.
Mr. Atkins, or I'm sorry, Mr. Hunn,
We don't look alike.
no, not at all.
Oh, stop that, stop that.
That's just-
Stop that.
You're my younger brother.
From another mother.
Mr. Hunn, allow me to call you tomorrow. I want to talk to Bridget. That was involved with the insurance, and let me find out what the exact legal status of that is, and I will follow up with you before noon tomorrow, if you'll give me that time.
You got that, for the time being, you got that time.
Yes, sir.
But make sure you call me now. If you don't, I'm gonna call you.
You don't have to call. Well, I'll reach out to you.
call me.
I'll talk to you too.
Call me too.
Yes, sir.
Guys, please, if you see somebody going in there or anything like that, you're talking about Lower Meadow Run, please, if you see somebody in there, if you see kids going, call us, we'll respond every time. You know, that was also part of a lengthy investigation. It was suspected as not accidental, so that has delayed some of that process too, as far as moving forward with condemning and removing that structure as far as the criminal investigation. But anytime you see anything down there, just call. We'll send a car by and check it. Okay?
Wilma?
I'm Wilma Brown. You know, I had to follow Mr. Hunn to the microphone. I mean, I have to do that. I have something, there have been very important issues tonight, but there's something else here. It has to do with communication. And it's a little awkward because it has to do with the website, the city website. And I know a new one is being worked on. I understand that. But essentially, nothing has been done on that site except very specific things for about 7 months. I looked up the city commissioners, and there's no contact information whatsoever for any of you. And so I don't know how citizens are supposed to get in touch with you. That's number one. It also says, not under the mayor's name, but under the rest of your names, that your appointment, your election, excuse me, ended December 31st, 2020, even under Commissioner Holland's And you weren't elected until November of that year, so I don't know what you've done. But anyway, there's no way to get in touch with the commissioners. That's number one. Number two, I typed in Kevin Caudle's name, and I got information. There's something there that says site search, and I typed in his name, and I got information on coronavirus. I typed in Parks and Recreation, and I got the mission statement for the Danville City Police. I mean, it's this type of thing. And there are lots of other spots. None of the minutes have been listed for 7 months for the city commission meetings, and it goes on and on. I don't need to tell you anything else. My point is, communication and our look to the community and outside the community is so important. I'm wondering if something can't be done in the interim, and how long is it going to be before we have a new website? Because I feel that this one is not only not working, but it's almost worse than that.
We'll provide an update at the next commission meeting for everybody on the website.
Anyone else? Thank you, Wilma. Going once? Yes, sir.
May I add an addendum to my remarks earlier?
Certainly.
If you change your voice.
I'm sorry?
Can you change your voice?
Can I change my voice? Well, yeah, I can. I can sound like I'm from southern Kentucky down on Tennessee line if you want me to.
There you go. There you go.
One of the things that was brought up to me is this. This is going to decrease our property values on Delahaye Street because it's not a through street if this goes through. It's going to decrease that. And also, a new way of doing things apparently, is let's start working on it and then let's worry about the details later. And let's worry about notifying people later. Let's start working on our project before we do anything later. I know that other government officials have been in the dark on the fact that Delahaye Street will be closed, and other city agencies are kind of in the dark on what's going on there. I do know that for a fact. Thank you very much for your time. I do appreciate it. We appreciate your response, that we would be able to talk with you individually, if so. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McKinley. I can't do that. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. Anyone else? Going once, going twice. Moving right along into commissioner comments. Mr. Atkins?
I probably need to go last. I've been on vacation, so my list is a mile long, so I'll go last.
Well, she just got back from vacation. Would you like to go, ma'am? Go for it.
Sure. Well, I guess the first thing, since someone kind of brought this up, 6 weeks ago I asked about the city commission and manager maybe talking about how we can recognize the 80 Bowl County deaths and pay tribute to our essential workers. I think everybody talked in favor of it, and I emailed the city manager, and it's still kind of, any feedback?
No,
we're
we're working on something. We'll follow up with the absences from the building. I think we should probably be able to give you we'll be able to talk about it again at the next meeting, I would think, with some ideas.
Okay.
With you. Yeah.
That
And
would be
we'll,
great.
yeah, so we'll plan on doing that in 2 weeks. We should be able to do that.
We could even have a committee and talk about ideas, and, okay, that'd be great. I guess one of our citizens did bring up that Boyle is in the red again. Can we maybe entertain the idea of having Brent again for some updates? I think now would be important, timely and educational to do so. I also had an idea, and I think I texted you, Earl, about with the city's newsletter coming out, perhaps a small segment could address COVID in some way. Perhaps Brent could do a small section, just throwing out some ideas for communicating with the public that we're going to already do. I was saddened to hear tonight we're up to 80 deaths. I was not aware of that. So now's the time to get serious again, and I appreciate everybody's support and leadership. So moving forward. Thank you.
That's all you got on all
That's
that?
all I got.
Madam?
I had requested to have Brent here tonight, but I think it was too late to have him here. But I think that's a good idea to get him back at least once a month during
every
this
meeting.
time. I think that's all I have.
Number of things. Fire station's coming along well. Nice to see that. Communication. I think we've had example tonight as to the break in communication in that 20 years ago, people read the newspaper. 20 years ago, that's how you got your information. Today, the press still reports. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't read the newspaper. So a lot of what's been discussed tonight has been disclosed, but it's a great example of we as citizens have got to become engaged again. Whether it's through the newspaper, whether it's through emailing one of us, emailing staff, we've got to get engaged. And I'm talking about everybody at every level. Whether you're talking local, state, federal. I think one of the fundamental problems in our country is we are not aware of what's going on out there. And the information we do get is probably not correct. So you got to be careful on that. So we are working on a newsletter.
Well, to your point more specifically, staff, the city of Danville staff is built around the tasks that have been here for a long time, right?
Right.
And so to increase communication outwardly, that will increase, to be frank, workload of staff that's already in most cases taxed. And so we have to acknowledge that if we really do an improvement to communication, you're going to have to invest in some additional man hours from somewhere. Well, that could be by contract, that could be by part-time labor. And so just understand that we will have to add some expenses there to improve in a big way. And I would just add that caveat to what your description is, and I'm not at all indicating that you're incorrect. I
Right.
just want to make sure that everybody, we talk about that as a group, that will increase cost slightly, and I'd certainly advocate for that because communication is key, and it's very difficult at the pace things happen now, where with technology, we're able to do so many things so quickly, and we're processing things much more quickly now. Society is. The speed that information needs to get out is increasing. And so we need to adapt to that, and we will work on a strategy to do that efficiently.
Can you bring us something at the next meeting?
I don't know that I'll have a long-term proposal to you, but we do want to talk about it, and we'll continue to talk about it. We will try to have a plan within a month, something like that we could really look at and hold, because it's also not dependent on just what we think. You know, we may have to get comments from someone else outside of our agency, so I can't say that it'd be 2 weeks, but we'll do it as quick as we can. Yes, sir.
How long will it take to get the website?
I'll have to follow up and find out the status of IT.
Who's in charge of that?
IT is working on that with staff, and all the management team is contributing some elements to the redesign, content mostly. I would say that there was a text I got that indicated that a lot of the contact information is on the website. So we'll work on it, and we will try to make sure that it's clear how to access that information. and we'll give you an update on the website in 2 weeks.
When was the last time our website was redesigned?
Probably 24 months ago or longer.
It wasn't that long ago, and
No,
then it wasn't very good, and so we're trying to make improvements.
Yeah, we did it on the cheap the last time, seems like, and this is a little bit more robust of an investment, to be honest with you.
I think
It should be a
was-
better version of it.
Well, I
this
think
time.
it was attempted in-house, and
No.
just, like you said, kind of on the cheap, and
I
in
say
the
it
long
like
run,
that,
that
not-
hasn't helped.
Yeah, I'm not saying that flippantly, like it was a significant effort the last time, but, you know, it is more efficient sometimes if you have someone that does it all the time. They will catch and make connections from a search engine more efficiently to the intended destination of the search.
And we need somebody dedicated to constantly updating that and making sure it's all correct.
It's part of the communication, yeah.
Yeah. And I wasn't going to talk about communication, Mayor, but
We'll go right ahead.
I was just going to say that we, the city, have to be very careful that we make sure that our information is correct before we share it with the citizens. And we need to make sure that we are collaborating with the health department and our state officials with correct information, and that we are vetting our information that we receive to make sure that it is correct, because there's a lot of incorrect information out there.
I also shared with the city manager this week my own personal opinion that here in City Hall, we need to go back to where we were 6 months ago, with masks out front, hand sanitizer out front, partitions in here. I don't know how you all feel, but that was my thought. And if you all are in agreement with that, can we get that done ASAP? Yes, ma'am.
We're in agreement. We were talking about the partitions earlier, so that'd be great. Thank you for bringing that up.
Sure.
I want to acknowledge a letter that I received just yesterday. It was dated the 25th of July, but somehow when you return from being out of town, somebody's mail always gets put on the top of the stack. So this letter was on the top of the stack. And I assume it was dated, it was addressed to all city commissioners, but it's from a group called Concerned Vaccinated Citizens, and they listed their names, so I know most of them, but they gave me a list of 10 local ways to lead a community fight against COVID-19. And I think 8 out of the 10 probably things that we could do with no cost at all. So I want to acknowledge the fact that I did receive the letter, and I will share it with the rest of the city staff as well as the commissioners, and hope we can get back to doing some of those things that we were doing earlier. I receive a notification just about every day from someone on social media about the numbers of COVID in our community and about those folks who are hospitalized and those who have left us. But I guess the biggest thing that I keep hearing about is that our vaccination rates really aren't growing. A lot of us folks over 39 have gotten vaccinated and gotten 2 shots, 3 shots, 2 in one arm and 1 in the other arm. And how do we get the word out to citizens in our community, in our state, in our country that this thing is very serious? And so I want to thank you for the letter. Thank you for the suggestions. And Commissioner Hall and I have had a couple of conversations about it just today. So we will start a conversation to address some of these things. But also, I'd like to say tonight that I'm going to take the liberty to call on some people who are in this letter that sent these nice suggestions to us and ask them to help us by taking on and giving us direction and leading the charge on some of these things. But I've been out of town, so your answer machine goes off quite frequently when you're out of town. So I want to call to staff's attention that I've gotten phone calls about Republic and about the recycling, and especially about what's happening or what's not happening to materials. And so I think it's time we get Republic or someone put out an update about recycling. I know somebody's going to say it's on our website, it's on their website, but again, you just heard a report about how reliable some of those things are. The other things that were on my answer machine was about planning and zoning, about the detox center that we just had a big hearing about the future land use map, about the comprehensive plan, and so some real, I think, serious things. But to my surprise, this is on a more personal note. We celebrate Juneteenth in this community, and in a Juneteenth presentation, I talked to the community about the 8th of August celebration, which is an Independence Day, a Freedom Day for our own state of Kentucky. And this last weekend, from Bowling Green to Russellville to Hopkinsville to Paducah, they had the annual 8th of August celebration. And it was in recognition of the Western Kentucky citizens, some of our ancestors in Western Kentucky, finding about the Emancipation Proclamation. Of course, they found out about it. President Lincoln, unfortunately, had already been assassinated, and the 13th Amendment had already been passed. So it was a couple of years after the Emancipation Proclamation when some of our citizens in Texas, but also in Western Kentucky, found out about this. Now, why is it relevant to what we're talking about right now? Well, first of all, it's part of my history, but second of all, because all the 8th of August celebrations had free vaccination clinics that were across the western part of our state. And they were aimed at lots of people, but especially aimed at people of color to get vaccinated. And they were giving out real good data and information about COVID-19. So it is time for us as a community and as a leadership team in this community to get ourselves refocused on what we can do to encourage and assist our citizens in vaccinations and cleaning our hands as frequently as we can. And I still say 6 feet apart. And I'm a brave old soul, but I'm not brave enough to ask you if you've been vaccinated or not. So I just put my mask on in honor of you to keep you safe and to keep myself safe. And then also I've been asking folks to give me that 6-foot distance. So there are some things we can do, and I am very supportive of those things, and I will continue to wear my mask. And our kids are going back to school, and it's kind of up in there about what's going to happen with our young folks in this community and about they're wearing a mask. So please help us get the word out that it's a community-wide issue, not a city government issue alone.
I want to remind the commission about the KLC conference, September 22nd through the 21st through the 24th. If you plan on going, let Ashley know, and she'll get you lined up.
She's got us all signed
We've
up.
already done that. We're all squared away. She just told me.
Good deal. And then on August 31, a reminder to all of us on the Economic Development Symposium. That is at 9 a.m. And it will be held in the training room downstairs. No, RECC.
No, the Ag Center,
That's right.
UK.
And do we still have a meeting on Thursday?
Yes.
And that is at 5:30, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's just going to be 30 minutes long, right?
Were we supposed to get those proposals?
Yes, if you can get those proposals and look at them before Thursday, that'd be great. I think Ashley was working on getting PDF versions out to everybody as well, if you'd rather look at it that way. But yeah, it'll be, the three teams will be presenting. They each have, we've got them spaced out an hour, so they'll be 5:30, 6:30, 7:30, and then we'll deliberate after that and make a decision. So it could be a lengthy meeting.
You want to tell the public what we're talking about?
It's proposals for the Parks and Rec Master Plan, is that correct?
Yes, we're selecting an architectural team to do the design for parks facilities, so.
Thank you. Anything else? Move right on to item 8 on our agenda is payment of the bills. Do I hear a motion for the acceptance of the bills?
I'll move for approval of the bills list in the amount of $1,224,515.82.
Thank you, Commissioner Terry. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Come on, y'all. Come on.
They fall asleep down there?
Any discussions, additions, corrections? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 9 is first reading of ordinance number 1975. This is our annual property tax rate adjustment. Ashley, you want to read that first, please?
This is the first reading of ordinance number 1975, an ordinance establishing ad valorem tax rates for fiscal year 2021 through 2022 and penalties for non-payment.
Thank you, ma'am. Do I hear a motion for the ordinance?
I move for approval of ordinance number 1975.
Thank you, Commissioner Terry. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Holland, thank you, ma'am. Discussion? For the public's benefit, this is called the compensating rate. It's something that's done every year in order to keep the same revenues from the previous year coming to the city. That's it in a nutshell.
Yes.
Any further discussion? Stephen, anything you want to add to it?
Well, I just would like to note that the rates decreased.
Correct. That's the only thing I was going to suggest, is just to confirm for the public what the actual number was. Last year, the rate per 100 was 0.14, and this year, when the calculation is made, the rate will be 0.138.
Excellent. Thank you for that. No further questions or comments, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Terry?
Yes.
Mayor Paris?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Holland?
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins?
Yes, ma'am.
Item 10 is resolution number 2021-08-09-03. This is a change order number 3 with respect to Perryville Road Water Main Phase 2. Do I hear a motion for the resolution?
I'll move to approve resolution 2021-08-09-03.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. We are in discussion. Josh, you want to take it from here? Oh, Marshall.
That's okay. Thanks, Mayor. This is in relation to adding 60 additional days to the contract. This is the water line construction that's going on along Perryville Road right now. So, due to weather, we had a slow startup for this contract, honestly, earlier this year due to some easement concerns. If you remember, we had to go secure an additional easement before we get started. So this is really just to tie up those loose ends and address the weather-related impacts of the project. It's moving along. It's had some impacts over time.
So this is not an economic issue as far as change orders? Normally,
No,
it's
no,
just
sir.
giving them more time.
It's just more time, no cost.
Gotcha.
I have a question about the water tower in general, and there's a lot of questions about whether there will be any sort of antenna or repeater for broadband and internet service going from the water tower to that part of the county. And I also read in the newspaper that the Perryville City Council voted to support that. And just because we haven't talked about it doesn't mean that that is not going to happen. And I think we have a broadband project coming up, and I thought that would be part of that. And can you speak to that at all, Earl or Marshall?
We can probably the best thing to do is try to pick an upcoming meeting where we can talk about broadband as a project again.
Okay.
And try to update you. There's been a lot of dialogue. There's a lot of how you do it going on in terms of conversation that we're having internally. That tower, we have not been approached by a third-party vendor to have access to that tank. And so that is not imminent for sure. That is a site that the city would consider if it were to do a broadband project. We would anticipate fiber backed to access service from that tank. You're going to need fiber optics to the tank. And so all of that is in consideration, and probably the best thing to do is just provide a more comprehensive update to you as time passes. You're a ways away from having access to the tank. It looks far along, but there's a significant amount of welding that they're doing that you really don't get to see from the road. So it's.
I was going to ask that, I think that conversation is a little premature at this moment. And again, it's about accurate information, and there's a lot of dialogue out there about whether we are or are not going to do that. And we're just not to that stage to discuss that yet.
From a technical standpoint, the city has cellular contracts, can't even say that word, on several tanks. 4th Street tank in Danville, for example.
Right.
And certainly that's something that we would suggest being open-minded about to the commission. There's contracts in Junction City and also already existing contracts in Perryville. Third-party contracts for wireless has been a challenge, frankly, for us to do it totally wirelessly, which is why the fiber to the tank is so important. And so it does warrant a healthy conversation so that it can be better understood.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to put that out there that at this moment, it's premature to have that conversation. And while that is probably the obvious plan, we're just not there yet.
Correct. We would ask the commission to be open-minded about that for sure.
Thank you.
I'd like to call for the question on Resolution 080903.
Thank you, sir. All in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 11 is discussion concerning cemetery rules with respect to pets. Josh?
Yes, is bringing this back again. We spoke about it, I think, a month ago. The concerns that we have from some citizens about dogs in the cemeteries and the contradiction between our ordinance and our rules and regulations. And you all wanted some time to kind of think about it, maybe reach out to folks and see what thoughts were in the community. So we're bringing that back to you all tonight to see if we're ready to make a decision. We've spoken to I think our cemetery superintendent has spoke to folks up there with dogs that we're discussing this topic right now. I don't know if anybody reached out to you. Always said if you had concerns to reach out and let you all know what their thoughts were. So we're trying to get the word out and see what else we can stir up as far as the community input on the topic, but not much to bring back from our end. We've discussed it internally about how to enforce it. We're prepared to do that if it's something that we need to start enforcing. But just kind of open it up to the floor and see what your all's thoughts were.
I've received no comment.
I didn't either.
Any comments either.
So, there you go.
But he still needs direction.
But would you all, I guess we can revise the rules and regulations to restrict dogs and bring that back for approval, or we can look at the ordinance and revise the ordinance and bring it back where we do allow dogs.
So, Mayor, to refresh your memory, there's a conflict
Yep.
in the rules and between the rules and the ordinance.
So if you restricted them, how do you enforce that? Never make a rule you can't enforce.
Well, I think we talked about this a little bit last time, that it's really a small amount of people that bring their dogs in. It's the same folks. It's people live nearby. They walk their dogs to cemeteries. So I think it starts off with just a conversation with, hey, we've had some complaints about dogs. We're enforcing this rule now. We can't allow dogs. And it starts at that level of just a conversation. If that doesn't work, then we have to start citing people, which leads to us reaching out to Bridget with codes enforcement to have someone come up and cite them for violating an ordinance. That's not a great process that we want to go through either. Our staff is not excited about it. But that's how we would enforce it. I think.
It's not so much the dogs as it is the waste.
Yes, it's the waste. And it's that one time of something happening that's unacceptable, that causes this passion that we've got to get the dogs out. And I think it's happened, and it's something that we can't accept. But how do we Yeah, we're punishing the 99% for the 1%.
Well, there already is an ordinance saying you're supposed to pick up your pet's waste, correct?
Right. But I don't think, if it touches the ground, that's too much. Like, even if they pick it up, I think that's where we're at with some of the discussions we've had with the concerned citizens, is picking it up after it's hit the ground is not okay. Like, it does not need to be in there at all. So it goes to that level, I think.
And
so
some of the waste, frankly, is not removable. And so it is perceived offense for some folks who have, who look to honor those that have passed. And it's the perception of the act. And certainly we want to acknowledge that and be considerate of that, and which is why for us, it's an enforcement issue, but we would suggest that the cemetery regulations be brought into compliance with the ordinance. If you ask us for specific advice or specific recommendations, that's what we would recommend as staff.
You have a very difficult time attempting to enforce, the picking up of the waste and trying to cite somebody for that offense without seeing it occur. You could be the only dog in there, and somebody call and say, well, I saw it, but that's still a uphill battle if that person tried to fight that citation regarding, proving beyond a reasonable doubt that their dog was the one that actually laid the waste. So, that's an uphill enforcement action if you were trying to go on that portion of the city ordinance as far as now having to prove that case because there's other animals that have been in there. The citing officer didn't see the offense occur. So that would be very difficult. That's always been a very difficult statute to attempt to enforce, even though, you probably did it because your dog is is a block away now and then the waste is here. But still, that's something that you don't really want to try to push if you had to go to a court level with that citation for a city ordinance violation.
I did want to add, I think I said this last time, I spoke to the cemetery committee about it. They didn't have a quorum, so they couldn't vote officially on it, but they were pretty much all in favor of restricting dogs in the cemetery. They were not okay with the dogs being in there. So I wanted to pass along with the
So what's the
discussion I had
next
with
step?
them. If we want to restrict the dogs, we'll bring back the rules and regulations that change that one clause in there that just restricts dogs completely from the cemeteries. That will then match our ordinance, and then we'll like I said, we'll start having conversations with our regulars that are in there with their dogs. And
Is that an agreement with you all?
Not really.
So we'll bring that back for y'all to consider in 2 weeks and have that on the agenda.
Got a better answer?
No, I don't. I
there's
mean,
no good
it's,
answer.
There's no good
there is
answer.
no good answer, and
But if you please
Either way-
99% of the people, that's not a bad gig.
either way, we're deterring someone from visiting the cemetery. What if someone's walking their dog and they have a loved one there and that's how they find comfort? So now they can't do that. And, there already are signs that say no dogs, and obviously people are still disregarding that. I had suggested a compromise by offering the little stations with the bags, like in Millennium Park, but I guess that's not really an option either, so.
You're still left with the desecration of the dog relieving itself in some manner that you can't pick it up.
I know, that's why I said there's no good answer.
all right, thank you all.
And Josh, does it say no dogs, no cats, no?
We don't have a cat
Animals,
issue.
pets?
Well, we probably have some cats come in there at night, but we don't see them, so we're okay.
Wow.
Okay. That concludes our agenda for the regular meeting. Do we have need for an executive session?
We do.
On what grounds?
Potential litigation, Mayor, and pending.
Gotcha. Do I hear a motion to that effect?
I guess I'll do it since Commissioner Cottle's not here. I move that we go into executive session to discuss pending litigation for which disclosure of details might compromise litigation posture pursuant to KRS 618101C.
And Commissioner, I'd also add pending litigation to that motion, please.
Pending
And proposed, sorry.
and proposed
Thank you.
litigation.
You have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We are going on. Everybody have a good night.
We good? I move, we go back into regular session?
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. We are in regular session.
I move to adjourn?
Motion made to adjourn. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. We adjourn.